Good morning, everybody. This is the Monday morning class on Invocation of Presence, and we are studying the book Invocation of Presence by E.J. Gold, and we are on chapter 4, Second Wind Phenomena, but I'm not sure exactly what page we're on. Ah.
So I found the book. Let me share the
Okay,
screen, and then we can figure out where we are.
excellent.
Yeah. So, okay, can you see this?
I can, yeah.
I think we finished this. Here I am. Did we?
Yeah, my memory is that we're more on chapter 4, the second wind phenomena.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
this is chapter 2, the journey. Chapter 3, to be alive. Okay, there, chapter 4.
Okay. Bernie, do you remember where we stopped reading?
No, but I would say we can start from the beginning because our memory.
Good for you. It's worth it to start.
Yes, it's so good.
Okay, I can start.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chapter 4, Second Wind Phenomenon. G spoke to the group one evening about the second wind phenomenon. Scientists have finally discovered that there is no physiological basis for the phenomenon known as second wind, a fact long known by primitive savages everywhere. I am sure that all of you here have experienced something that occurs after severe organic efforts. If there is no organic basis for this change, then we must look for a mental basis for this second wind phenomenon. Meditate on what this could be. The second wind phenomenon is an artificial mental barrier which can be broken by prolonged efforts of the moving centrum. Second wind occurs with other things, work ideas not the least. Prolonged movements with rhythmics can produce this second wind. I think we should discuss this.
Sure. Go for it.
So it says in the third paragraph, the second wind phenomenon is an artificial mental barrier which can be broken by prolonged efforts of the moving centrum. Second wind occurs with other things, work ideas not the least. I don't know what that means. Prolonged movements with rhythmics can produce this second wind.
Just real quick on that very last sentence then. we used to do a movements exercise. It was called the Afghani rhythmics. And it was kind of a fast and fairly intense physical dance. And if you stick with it enough, you get into the rhythm of it, or you get into the flow of it, let's say. And I think that's what he's referring to in this sentence.
Mm.
But then let's see, the second one occurs with other things, work ideas not the least. So what do you think? Any thoughts on that, Bernie?
Yes, the what comes to my mind is when you're what you think it's a problem and you have it in your mind and you you stick to it and you see it from one side, from the other, and I don't know if this is the second wind, but sometimes when you leave that aside for a moment, or you go to sleep with the situation, not to say the problem, the idea, the wake ideas, um, it's a kind of not a miracle, but something unusual happens that you could wake up or in the middle of the night or in the morning and see that someone something has made good from all that effort that you have put on the situation. And I would say that it's a kind of second wind. You have surpassed the effort, no? That is what comes to my
Mm.
mind, David.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think X-ray was discovered like that, right?
Mhm.
That what was?
X-ray, I think Mary Curie, that's what
Oh,
they told us in the science.
huh.
She was working on it, and eventually she was so exhausted that she just slept in the lab, and it just struck her, I think, somehow that, oh, this may be the, and that's how she discovered X-rays.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yes, I heard that. There are many inventions that have come through that way. It's not. I don't think it's coincidence because it's more than coincidence. The guy had to be very on the effort, on the need to resolve and strenuously, uh, and finally a break came through. But you can call it luck or coincidence, but it's more than that, no? The
Oh,
guy had a.
yeah, I definitely think it's more than coincidence. The,
Mhm.
but like in Marie Curie's play, in her case, she had been working for days and weeks and hours on this. So it wasn't like it just accidentally occurred. Her focus and her intention was on it.
Mm.
Mhm.
And then she had a breakthrough.
Mhm. Yes.
But I wrote down something about work ideas, not the least. What if you are subject to the invocational influence of work ideas?
Mhm.
Let's say you're, whatever that means at the moment, you're subject to that. And so let's just say that here you are in a cathartic state of some sort, or you're just lost in your mechanicality of the day. And suddenly somebody reads that might be important for you, might read the clear light prayer. Now I am experiencing the clear light of objective reality. What if that was injected into the space?
Mm.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like you would have a way of looking at the world differently at that moment, right?
Yes. To change everything.
Changes everything.
Good point.
Yeah. So, David, why it says on the first sentence, the second wind phenomenon is an artificial mental barrier which can be broken by prolonged efforts of the moving center.
The way I see that is the limitations that people put on themselves in terms of physical capacities. For instance, let's say that you're a runner, which I am not, and you could probably run 2 miles. Okay.
Mm.
Run. And then suddenly you're required to run 3 miles. I've never done it before. I can't do that. I can't da. And you know the effect in the world of sports when Bannister broke what's called the 4 minute mile. Nobody thought anybody could possibly run faster than that. He ran faster than that, and then several other people broke the record as well.
Mm.
So it's possible that we input into ourselves several, what do you call it?
Limitations.
Limitations, physical limitations. I can't, I, I can't climb that set of stairs. I'm an old man, my legs are hurting, and I got to carry this suitcase. I'm sure I can't do it. And then there's 6 people behind you going, hurry. Suddenly, Bernie and I have both been there.
Is does it mean by any chance the moving when it says the prolonged efforts of the moving centrum to be the habits?
It could be. Um, it could be. I look at it in the same way, Nishant. I look at my physical limitations in the same way as my mental limitations. Those are,
Yeah.
I impose mental limitations. I
Yeah.
can't think about that. Gosh, when that occurs, I always react this way. Oh
Mm.
my gosh, I don't want to meet the person because I always get intimidated.
Yeah. I
You
want
know,
to share you. Sorry, Bernie, go ahead.
no, something came to my mind. There are two words that we use usually, and I discovered, I think, that they are from our childhood, and those are always and never. Um, yes,
Weird.
they bring the limitations and the stop of time. No, never. Oh, never. I never do that. Or I always do that. So it appears to me that we impose. I like that word, David. You said impose limitations that are probably first they are psychological, but of course there are limitations, physical limitations. But we tend to think that the mental and the physical and the psychological are separated, no? But
Hmm.
in this moment, I understand that there is one one thing going on. No? Thank you. Sorry,
No, that's a good point. No, I just wanted to share an observation and see if it would connect with this. So I had a patient, young guy. He came in from alcohol rehab. He was having some issues. Anyways, I was talking to him, and I said, what's your history and what's the story? And he said that I used to drink 24 bottles of beer every day, every evening, 24. I said, wow, that's too much. And I've been doing it for many years now. And I was sober for, did he say 6 months or 1 year or some good amount of time? He did not drink anything.
Hmm.
And then he said that me and my girlfriend went to Vegas, and my girlfriend said, "Oh, let's have a beer. One beer should not do anything." And as soon as I had my first, it just went down. I went down again to the same pattern, 24. And it kept me thinking, uh, like we if we go to Vegas, we'll have a beer. It doesn't change it to 24. Um, so what's the difference? So I was thinking he has made a pathway in his brain that connects directly. As soon as he gets one, that pathway is opened up.
Yes.
Um, and I was thinking the same thing as you said, David. If you are in the middle of something, you are in middle of the mechanicality, and if we hear the clear light prayer, and it changes everything. Is it that pathway that is activated? With our practice, the habits, quote unquote, that every day we are doing this, eventually it stimulates that pathway. If we are in the middle of a mechanical work and something redirects the attention to this, to the essential self,
I think one of
I
the big breakthroughs in EJ's offering to us is that he says that we are two electrical bodies, the essential self and the machine. The machine in itself is not a negative, it just is a fact, but that's the protector of us, and we have secured great habits in it to protect ourselves. I mean, that's a good thing, right?
Mm,
To be protected and to survive. So I think it's important to remember that this man that was drinking 24 bottles of beer is exactly like we are. We're no different than him. Our mechanicalities are just as profound. In his case, it's external, therefore it's quote unquote worse. You know what I mean?
mhm.
The poor guy can't hide it. Or the person who's desperately trying to quote unquote lose weight, and then in their drawer is a bunch of donuts, you know. So in this
Yeah.
man is a mechanical feature that is so profound that when it's touched, it has much more power than his the other part of his will.
Yes, yes.
So in a certain way, I'm just going to say he's just like me. Mine doesn't happen to work in that particular manner, but you know, so then it becomes a question of noticing that phenomena. That man in a certain way is fortunate in that there it is, right? He can see it.
Yeah.
It's very powerful and it's societally frowned upon. Society says, oh, it's really bad if you're a drunk. Ugh, bad. You're a bad person.
Mm.
I agree. It just, so what compared to like what? Greed, ambition, name them.
So you are saying that this pathway is just mechanical for the HPM. It's not um it is not in the essential self.
It is definitely not in the essential self. That is
Okay.
correct. That is what I am saying is that, and we don't know why it was developed by this man.
Hmm.
Like for him, that was the only way for him to survive, or some set of machine things, whether, it's a boss needing to dominate his workers, right? He can't help himself but dominate them, or a woman using her sexuality because that's all she knows, right? These are
Hmm.
mechanical buttons. Think of it like there's a button and then the event click and then the mechanicality operates. Right?
Yeah.
And so this guy, it's so deep. I mean, if you listen to his history, we don't know what his father was like, or, you know, how many
Mm.
times did he get beaten? And his only way out of it was to escape. And then when he got old enough, he said, oh my gosh, I could really escape.
Yeah.
Poor guy. It's like, woof. And you and I both know that he has heard a million times how bad it is for him to drink.
Hmm.
He knows that better than you and I do, the subtleties of that commentary.
Yeah. So second wind for us would never be a mechanical.
No,
Okay.
I don't believe. I personally, and I mean, I'm sure it's open to discussion and we could get a better insight into it. But for me, second wind in this regard, the way we're talking about it, is it's an intention, there's an intentionality to it.
Mm.
But Bernie, you might be more familiar with it, but I'm not familiar with maybe the physical second wind that these guys are all talking about.
The only word that comes to my mind, uh, David and Nishant, is to find an analogy, a conceptual analogy, is stretching. Stretching, no? Stretching is like making space for something else.
Hmm.
No? So that is the only thing that comes to my mind. No, I think the word stretching is something that we are trying. EJ is, I think, he's trying to instill in us the possibility of something else. We don't know what else. Something else, no. So that is what can I share with the group
Hmm.
stretching.
Mm.
So can we go on reading?
Yes, yes.
Nishant, could you expand a little more?
Yes.
Okay,
Is it
thank you.
better? Yeah.
Yes. Should I go on?
Sure.
Yes, yes, please, yes.
Okay. Is that okay there? Well,
This
scroll a
one,
little.
the
Well,
so-called
okay.
psychic.
Okay. Thank you. The so-called psychic is a person who, for one reason or another, usually as a result of extreme anxiety, has automatically achieved the psycho-emotional second wind in which psychic force data becomes accessible. There is also a non-phenomenal second wind and a sexual second wind, both of which are only activated when all automatic biological drives can have been exhausted. To achieve any second wind, we must go to the whole hog, including the postage, which is to say, to walk the extra mile. That's strong.
Hmm.
Okay.
What do you see there?
It's a lot of a lot of information there, no? To walk the extra mile. No? It's in that line, stretching, giving space for open our the possibility of our limitations. No,
Yeah.
the quatrains have something, I don't know, have something to do. No, all phenomena is illusion. Jacques repelled. Yes, all around us, the teaching is talking of the same thing. You know, you can go further. You can go further. So,
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
Someone else can read? Or
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Where are you?
The
Smile.
transformation.
Transformation is the second wind of being, he told the group that afternoon. There is no organic barrier, just psychological. We must achieve the second wind of presence after we can do all our exercises effortlessly, naturally, and easily every day, all day long. It seems me we may sometimes achieve this second wind of presence for short moments of time, said P, but how do we keep it going? Replied G. We must make intentional use of real emotion. Any thoughts on that?
Real emotion.
intentional use, that's another concept, very strong, no? And real,
Intentional use
yes,
of,
real
so
emotion.
intentional use, we know what that, we have a sense of what that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
I intend, I willfully intend, I intend, I find an intention. But what is an example? What does he mean by real emotion? Maybe it's better to try to, so reactive emotions are not real emotions.
Yes.
Okay, so that might help us a little bit. Like, if I see my favorite television show coming on, and I have an emotion of joy, right? That's not a real emotion. I'm reacting to a phenomena that's out there.
Mm.
Yeah, I think in one book, EJ, there was a sentence which said that real emotion is only, I don't remember exactly, but something to the effect that real emotion is the one that is used for connection. Connection will be the only real emotion.
So, one thing we can all do, is when you have presence, let's just say you're in a meditative mood or something like that, and then you have a sense of presence. Just look at it. What does that energy feel like? And if you can be in that space and open up to certain, maybe you'll start to feel a sense of gratitude, or you'll feel a sense of caring, or love, or something like that. Okay.
Yes.
You have to discover what it might mean to you. And they might be so new that you haven't had a chance to, where you
Experience.
you have to experience them. You'll notice the difference. The quality of the emotion, of the energetic signature, is fundamentally different. Okay. It's fundamentally different. There's a flow to it rather than a reaction. And mechanical emotions can be happy and bad. We like to think of them as, oh, I'm really mechanical. I get sad. I get angry. Yeah, but how about you get happy when somebody praises your ego? Okay.
Hmm, good point.
Yeah.
So, me and Jim, we do that Tonglen, um,
Yes.
and it it changed a lot of things, Tonglen.
So in the Friday group, the Spanish group, when we were studying HBM, one of the final chapters, 20, 21, 22, something like that, EJ actually talks a little bit. He doesn't use the term Tonglen, but the methodology is Tonglen. And we studied chapter 12 of the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, which is a long discussion of that methodology. Do you want to share that briefly with this group so we get it and it's on the recording?
So Tonglen, I had no idea what it is until 2 years back. I joined gym. He does it every morning in the ashram, and he had a script, which we used to go by. And we made some changes in the script, but pretty much Tonglen, um, you identify someone who is hurting, who is in pain, any kind, and you put yourself in that position and you feel the pain.
Let me give you an example, because that's so my next door neighbor, who's been in the school for many, many years as well, is an artist. She's in her mid 60s, and she's lost almost all of her hearing. Does that make sense? You hear what I mean?
Mm.
Yes,
Because you can hear.
yes.
Yet she's an artist, and she teaches classes to kids and adults all week long, right? She has classes with the kids, classes with adults, teaching them how to do art. Now, can you imagine yourself not being able to hear? I'd say her hearing is 80 or 90% lost. She has tools and things like that. But she loves teaching these people. So think of yourself meeting with a bunch of friends or whatever you're going to do, or holding a conference at work, Nishant, or Bernie meeting, but you can't hear. You have to
Mm.
read lips, or you have a little app on your phone that's reads what they're, transcribes saying. But she goes on in spite of that. Okay.
Mm.
For me, it's like, whoa. So I see her literally every day. So I have a opportunity to put myself in her place. I can
Yes.
barely able to do it. Continue. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Nishan.
No, no. I was just agreeing with you. Yes. Um, yeah. So you put yourself in that place and you feel the pain. And once you do that sensing and feeling, then you send out healing energy to this person.
Hmm.
And this is so um, what is called it changes everything.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Now, one of us should go back and look at HBM. But what if the person that you're looking at in this context, right, of absorbing their pain, what if that is your own machine?
Mm.
And that's one of the exercises in the in the Tonglen tradition is you too, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and if you have a copy of the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by Sogyal Rinpoche, not a bad book to not a it's worth reading that chapter. It's a teeny bit long, but it's worth the stretch.
Mm. Okay.
David, something I was mumbling in my my head, in my mind, while we were discussing. Uh, each one of us, every day of our life, come out from the bed, and and we have to overcome gravity. That's the first force that is is waiting on us, no? And
Nice.
we, yes, and we have to make a decision because the I think everyone happens to all of us. No? The bed is so nice. You're there, like you know, where you were with your mother in the uterus, no? But we have to make every day. We have to make a decision. No? We have to get out of the bed and face the day, and the greatest force we have to deal with is gravity. No, isn't that a miracle? Because we tend to say yes, we tend to say no, 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 we don't do a thing. No, we start the morning and face gravity, no, as every other being in the planet. No, have to
Good for you.
face yes, and
I
this.
oh, I faced gravity this morning, Bernie. Okay.
Yes,
Hey, here I am, still standing.
yes, good for us, no, good for you, good for us.
There
We are still alive, no.
you go.
um, if we are to keep on reading, is Swati and Bhavini able to read or want to read? Can you?
Swati is a little
No, I
busy.
am available now.
Oh, go
Yeah.
for it.
Yes, please.
Use of real emotion was the last phrase,
Use of real emotion.
replied G. We must make use of real emotion. We will fail continually is where you should start.
Okay, all right. Thank you, David. We will fail continually until the day we wake up in terror because we suddenly realize that we really do fall asleep on our feet. Then suddenly the exercises become important to us, and after a while, they form themselves as a function of our natural existence. If we do not realize that we fall asleep standing up and care nothing for the result of this in our lives, then these exercises will seem impossible. Not even for 1 second can we invoke presence. One test of whether a man is awake or not is if he is forced by the terror of the situation to struggle for the invocation of his presence. If he does not feel particularly inclined to struggle for his real life and is content with ordinary organic survival, we know at least one thing about him and his chances for work. Is the second wind of presence achieved through a series of efforts and failures at invocation? Jay asked. The invocation of presence will not just happen by itself in the ordinary course of life, he replied. But on the other hand, invoking mechanically, no matter how fanatically does not guarantee results either. What is needed is a catalyst which always appears in its most ordinary form as a mirror of our own phenomenal hallucinations. And I pass.
Let's go ahead and read the next paragraph, whoever is going to read next.
Yeah, I
The
can read.
Okay.
So go ahead. Yes, please.
The catalyst is also sometimes called the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost has consciousness, whereas grace, divine as it is unconscious, automatic, and is, in this sense at least, although without it, real evolution is impossible, completely useless. Because this may take years, we must also embark upon many other lines, and all lines of work must begin at once without delay.
Can you, the term of the Holy Ghost and grace are Western terms on Western Christianity and Catholicism, things like that. Is there an equivalent in the Vedas of the Hindu cosmology?
I think we have Atma and Paramatma.
Okay, the Atman. Okay, good. Let me read. Yeah, thank you.
I don't know, like if it relates to it, but
So, David, can you say it one more time? You said Holy Ghost and what else?
And the term grace.
Okay.
Grace is heavenly grace. You know, you're blessed with grace. You're filled with grace from God. Is like a terminology that might be used. And when I'm reading this right at this second, I'm thinking, I've got some colleagues here that were not raised in the Catholic Church like I was.
But there is something about Trinity, right? So what else is like two components other than the Holy Ghost in making a Trinity in the Christianity?
And in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Okay, I see. Because
Now,
we have a different Trinity, like Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. So I was just trying to see if there's
so
anything
it's
that's matching.
Brahma, Vishnu,
And Mahesh.
Mahesh.
So
Okay.
Mahesh is we can call it like absolute, the supreme truth. And then the Brahma is something which generates. It's like Nishan can help me or Bhavini.
Creator, right? Creator.
Yeah, a creator. Yeah. And the Vishnu is like who maintains. And then the
Maintain.
Shiva is who destroys. So it's a whole cycle of creation, maintaining, and then destroying. So I'm not sure if we can relate that with any of them with the Holy Ghost, or I'm not much sure about the Trinity of the Christianity though.
So one thing I heard is that the Holy Ghost comes into being when you have reverence for the divine. That's the Holy Ghost, the connector. So let's say there's the divine, there's you in reverence. The energy between it is the Holy Ghost.
so in Atman and Paramatma, so Atma is basically it's considered the soul. That's my understanding of it. But Param Atma, Param means higher than the Atma. Param is beyond Atma. So that would be something which could be termed as the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
Consciousness.
So in the West, the concept of the Holy Ghost is the Holy Ghost descends on you and you are filled with grace. Okay.
Right.
So that's, I think, the subtlety that EJ is using in this paragraph, because he goes, what is needed is a catalyst, which always appears in the most ordinary form of as a mirror of our phenomenal hallucinations. Okay.
Mm.
So each one of us has our own mirror and can develop our own catalyst called the Holy Ghost or Vishnu or something. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think his comparison will help, David.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm pushing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it will just make it more confusing.
Yeah. I'm
So for
confused.
Hindu, as far as you said that the Holy Ghost is the one who help you grace to descend on you. So in that sense, we just like, as far as I am aware of, is just that the existence or the absolute takes care of that one, or we call it a higher forces that comes and descends on you. So I
Mhm.
never heard anything similar, like, according to what exactly the Holy Ghost is doing in the Hindu mythology. So we just say as the supreme or the
That's
exact.
okay. That works. It works.
And I think the grace, the other thing, because the separate term to grace is termed as kripa in Hindi or Gujarati, like, param kripa. So, like a kripa from above, So I think that is a term which has been used. So I don't know
Hmm.
if the host can be compared, but the grace is the term which has a different meaning in the Gujarati language, which is krupa. So just like direct, you know.
Very good. Now, here's the point of it is if you can find that catalyst in yourself, you know, let's just say that damn dog, right? And every time the dog does whatever the dog does, you go crazy. Okay. In the middle of that mess that is you, that goes crazy, is the opportunity to develop a catalyst. Whereas you going crazy about the dog invoke helps you invoke your presence. Could be fear, could be physical hunger or craving for gelato ice cream. Okay. And as soon as that craving comes up, there's like a self-awareness arises the same second. Craving, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I'm looking at it in that manner, this particular offering in this paragraph.
But I also noticed that that happens, like with particularly me, like I've noticed that that happens when I make a lot of those mistakes. Like, for example, suddenly there becomes a guilt conscience, which makes you suddenly realize, was that really the reaction that I came up with? And then there's a pang which happens, and that makes you realize that not this ever again, and that is the trigger point. Like, for example, like there was this during my pregnancy, like I wanted to keep eating food, and I actually was I was so hungry that I actually got like I became kind of negative towards somebody who was eating the food from my plate. And then I would have shared the food, and it was a kid, you know. So I was shocked at my reaction. And since then, like it's been 5 6 years, but since that one moment where I expressed negativity, like not even in words, but in my eyes, you know, and somebody could sense it because I was constantly starving, and that kid was too young, you know, to understand that. And I like, you know, so what I have noticed basically is that now every time I'm hungry and I feel like I want food, I just look at myself like, where is that hunger happening, you know? Or say, when I got mad at my kid and like I literally dragged him along, you know, just a couple of like weeks or whatever ago. And I was so shocked at that, you know, someone in me could do that. And then you just try to find that trigger point where could I lose it, you know? So I think like that happens when you make those so-called mistakes, but they're not mistakes. It's like you were driven in that it is, and that
I like that very much. It's not a mistake. It's just an occurrence.
right.
If we can get there, that it's then we have the ability to start observing it, and then your mind will be filled with wonder. Oh my God, look at this. My own son is taking a carrot off my plate, and I want to chop his hand off, you know? And so the first thing we want to do is stop the behavior, right?
Right.
As I said last week, it's critical to work to not express that level of negativity. But it's at the same time the delicate balance of watching it within you and being in wonder of it and going, oh my gosh, fascinating. So if at that moment, the energy of the mechanicality, can it trigger for you a sense of self-observation? I think that's what we're looking at in these few paragraphs here. Just some thought like that.
Good.
Okay. Wow, what a class.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good job, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
David, one thing that I have shared with another group that is studying also this. Those of can have the possibility. There's a great master that is from this lineage, and the ADHHB edition is available if you can. Is Robert the Rob, Robert the Rob, ROPP, and you will find a lot of information that is in this line that we are studying now, and it's a lot of common sense, and it's very interesting. So if you are able and you are able to get the book or whatever you can, I shared you with
Which book
my
is it, Bernie?
actually he has written 3 or 4 books in ADHHB edition, but the book I am reading now is wait, I have it here. One is the Master Game, and the other one I have I'm sorry. It's self-completion. And there is a lot of tips that is very informative and very common sense for the practice of this study we are doing. And I think that it has a product from EJ, so it is in that line of, you know. So the author is, that's it, Robert the Rock, The Master Game and Self-Completion. Thank you, Gavini.
Yeah.
I have been reading these books for the last many years, and it's my fifth time I read it. And it is, as David says, when I read it, I say, I didn't read this. How can it be? Because it's always full of novelty, you know?
And I believe he's written a third book called The Warrior's Way
Yes,
is another one.
yes.
Very pragmatic. I ran into him many, many years before I ran into EJ's material, and I
Hmm.
found him extremely helpful. And Bhavani has given us a link here to his YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Swati. See you later, everybody. Oh yeah, we should end. I'm gonna end the recording.
Okay.